gonna give this stream like 2 minutes, and then we'll get started. I'm just um, throughout the tweets, throughout all the pings, gonna let all the people arrive before I get going. I hope my audio is on. There's been a lot of audio issues in this house for the past few weeks. But yeah, let's give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna go fetch some coffee. I recommend everybody do the same. I really should have a graphic made, which when I'm starting these streams, it should just read something like making coffee, getting ready. I think rather than have it made, I should probably just make it in Microsoft Paint or something like that. I'm actually wondering if I should, just quickly, but probably doesn't take this time around. So my coffee's brewing right now. The basic idea, and this is pretty obvious to everybody watching, we're gonna take all these bosses. They updated the tier list to now include all of the Elden Ring ones. I, in full disclosure, haven't fought all the Elden Ring bosses. I think I've fought most of them. I'm just going over it. Yeah, there's a few here I don't recognize. So we'll change this into haven't fought, and we'll do a little cry face. Also, S plus and S tier, I don't think so. One S tier. Here's another thing I'm gonna do. Let's change this into A, and here we'll go A tier concept, because as we're gonna go over, a lot of the bosses have a lot of strong ideas going on. Execution, not so much. But execution equals meh. On the other hand, I don't think there's a lot of bosses who are like have a terrible concept but are executed really well. But yeah, my coffee's ready. I'm just gonna fetch it and then we'll get started. Ah. Oh, also, I am low-key thinking if I should have some background music playing. Let's just briefly try something out. Character creation music. Is this okay? Is the music coming through? Am I overpowering myself with the music? Hmm. Anyways, I'm listening to the Dark Souls character creation soundtrack. Or, well, music. Let's get started. So, in my Elden Ring review video, I talked a bit about boss design, and I was very careless with some of my phrasing because I said things like Artorias like bosses, and I wasn't saying just big enemy with big sword, but I can see how I should have been more careful with my wording there. When I say Artorias like, I'm more so just talking about. Let me find just a very quick example of something that's an Artorias like. Um, like the Pursuer, you could argue that's an Artorias like, but that's like a guy with a big sword. Another Artorias like would be something like um, uh, 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 like Mad Pumpkinhead. I would say that's an Artorias like because, well, maybe not that one, but now that I need the example, it isn't appearing to me, so that's fun. But just the basic idea is that I like bosses which have a lot of craft in their design, like in the encounter itself, and it's a lot of like it's very interesting, and like how they play on your emotions as a player with the fight itself. So something like the Storm King or something like the Adjudicator, where the encounter it has a very specific setup, and you as a player feel very different to that encounter. Likewise, something like Maiden Estrella, which is more sort of just a spectacle boss, I also like those. But for Artorias, I don't think there is much more there than what you see on the surface. So it is just you roll around and you fight the enemy, and a lot of people like those fights, and I understand liking those fights. I did like those fights when like Artorias came, and those were a bit more novel. But I am getting pretty sick of them because we get more and more of them. Like I think the ratio of the fights that I really like and the ratio of fights that I just sort of like is getting a bit skewed with the games that we're getting. Not that those fights are bad. I liked Artorias when he was like a novel gimmick that you have like a very sort of execution challenge, execution driven challenge in one of these games. But that's sort of just become the staple. So, the way we're going to do this, first of all, I think it's very good before we start just randomly dragging these characters on here to first let's find an S tier boss. King Alant. I would say this is S tier. And let's find an F tier boss. So something like what's F tier? What's F tier? What's absolutely irredeemably bad? I would say Blue Smelter Demon, is that F tier? That's maybe E tier. I think F tier has to be like trash. It has to be really, really, really bad. Like so bad that you're like, why does this exist? And I think Dark Eater Medir, this is a really good example of an F tier boss. And obviously these are just my opinions. So the reason I think Alant is S tier is because this is a very different kind of encounter from everything else in the game. Like you've heard his voice, everybody's been talking about the Great King Alant, you've met his demon, and then at the end you walk inside the Great Old One, and it's like, oh, this sludge frogman is like the main villain. I really like that. Whereas Dark Eater Medir, this is the sort of stuff that I really don't like, because I don't think the combat mechanics are nearly deep enough for this to be good. This is like a 6 to 10 minute long fight, and it basically boils down to you have to roll perfectly around him, and then you can do one attack or maybe two attacks, and then he moves, and you have to repeat this pattern. That is okay for something like Great Owl Shinobi, like Owl Father, Inner Owl, because you have so many different options at all times, and you can really express yourself. But for Medir, like this is exactly what the combat system is really bad at. So now that we have our sort of gradient, I think we can start to plot down the other bosses, and like I'll probably shuffle some stuff around. Maybe Medir doesn't stick around on F, but this is a good framework, I think. Also, I think this is probably going to be maybe an hour, 90 minutes. We'll see how it goes. Old Monk. This is S tier. This is S tier when it's launched. Is it A tier now? The thing is, this is a really fun sort of gimmick fight where you have the monk summons another NPC to fight you, but I don't know if that novelty is really that strong anymore since the servers are offline. And I also, I also don't, I don't think this boss is threaded that interestingly into the pre-existing area. So I'm gonna put it into A tier. Adjudicator. This is another A tier. The great thing about this fight is that you make your way across all these very narrow cliffs with these enemies that keep trying to push you off, and the lesson that is sort of being hammered home while you're walking on those cliffs, and you also have those storm beasts shooting spears at you, is you have to be careful. You have to be slow, and you have to be methodical walking your way through this. Don't rush it, because if you rush it, they're going to destroy you. And for the adjudicator fight, that is also like that lesson still remains. You're supposed to be calm and just go down the stairs. But because he attacks you the moment you enter, it like puts you off your game and you begin to panic. And that's really not what you want. Also, I think this is a really fun fight where it's very easy. You're just attacking him where the butcher knife is sort of broken into his stomach, and then you attack the bird every now and then. So that's a very easy fight, but I think it's a pretty fun fight. The tracking he does is very limited, but the arena itself is very enclosed, so that sort of makes up for it. I also like that because he's a bird here, the idea of like sky burials and the way sky burials connect to the story of the Shrine of Storms, I like that that's represented with the Adjudicator. Old Hero. Okay. I think this is here. I think this is a really fun concept of a boss that's blind, but I don't think it quite lands. The execution is not meh. This is a fine fight, but I don't think it quite lands. I don't think because I think I had to be told the first time around that he was blind. I don't think I puzzled that together myself. So I think that's pretty telling about the quality. Storm King, this is S tier, I think. This is S tier. I don't think I need to explain why. I really like the weapon we get, the Storm Ruler. I really like just bringing these monsters down. I spent so many hours before I discovered or was told about the soul duplication glitch. I spent so long in that arena just respawning over and over again to level up. So I have a lot of fond memories of this fight. And I also think it's really fun because it's very different. You're like all throughout the level, or well, mainly in the first part of the Shrine of Storms, but all throughout, you've been bombarded by these storm beasts. They've been shooting spears at you, and you've always had to sort of keep that in the back of your mind. And now that's just like the main challenge. It's just you have to look up and you have to roll around these crazy spear attacks coming at you from all over. I love that. Leechmonger. This is where we get into like the D tiers. I don't think there's really that much interesting going on in this fight. I think this is an amazing arena, and conceptually, like, I don't dislike the idea of just this mass of vermin, this mass of like parasites, which has sort of been bound together by the power of demon souls. But like a strong concept, that is not. That's just an interesting sort of thematic idea. I feel it needs to be represented with the game mechanics, and I don't think we are seeing that with Litzmonger. Dirty Colossus, I would put him very much in the same arena. It's a very similar idea. This sort of amalgamation of rot, that sort of stagnant rot, but I don't think it really comes together in the way this boss is fought. I like that he throws flies at us, but I'm not putting him above D. Maiden Estrella. This is where we're getting into, like, this is exactly, I'm not putting her in A, I'm just keeping her here while I talk about these guys. This is exactly what these guys aren't. So, the idea of the Valley of Defilement, you have like this corrupt stagnation, and the way it sort of sinks in pools to produce more rot. This is what that is. And I think it's hammered home much better in this fight arena than it is with either one of these guys. So, I want to put her in. I want to give her an A+, because I think she's better than Adjudicator and Old Monk. I'm not I'm not willing to give her S tier. I'll put her like in front of the A tiers. Um, I should probably put Adjudicator ahead of Old Monk too. Um, yeah, I'm comfortable with this because I don't want to bloat out the S tiers just yet. I love this fight because it's really like the fight against Garl Vinland. It's gotten really easy because I've had to play Demon Soul so often that I know his attack timings perfectly. I just parry him all the time. But the first time I did this, it was really stress inducing. So I have a lot of fond memories of this fight. Penetrator. This is like this is like a C where it does nothing wrong. Um, I quite like the boss setup where all throughout Boletaria level 3 we've been chasing the fat minister, and then when we reach the boss arena he's just killed by the boss. He isn't the boss. Big fan of that. But I don't think this boss does anything exceptional. I like that Bjor will show up to help us if we free him, but this is just like this is a very sort of mid from boss where there's nothing. I can't really complain, but I'm not like there's nothing great going on here. Blue Dragon. Okay, so a bit of backstory on this one. The original idea with the Blue Dragon. This is the dragon that spews fire at you when you're running towards King of Land, the false King of Land's boss arena. The original idea with this fight was that if you killed him where he spewed fire at you, he'd just be dead. But if you ran past him, then he would have some interaction to play in the false King of Land fight itself. So I quite like that, but it was cut. So what can I say? I don't like trying to fight him because I'm just pelting him with arrows. I do like dragons as obstacles, and that's probably going to be a running theme in all of this boss ranking. Is that the dragons I think serve better to be obstacles and to sort of create a feeling of danger in arenas than they do actual fights. I don't think I can point to a single dragon fight here which I think is really, really exceptionally executed. But maybe there's one. We'll see as we keep going. Okay, Old King of Land. I'd put him right here with Penetrator, where this is just like, no, you know what? I'll have to give him a bit higher. I don't think he's any more interesting off an encounter than Penetrator, outside of the fact that he de-levels the player. That is the craziest mechanic they ever did in any of these games, and they didn't do it again. And I remember on my first character, where I played Demon Souls, I think I New Game Plused it to like 4 or 5. And I'd gotten to such a high level that I basically had to beat the entire game, and if I didn't die at all, or if I didn't lose any of my souls in that entire run, I could maybe afford one more level up. So whenever I fought him and he de-leveled me, it was like, I went through the entire game to get one level and you just took it from me, you asshole. Big fan of Old King of Land. Vanguard Demon, I think this is like in the D's. This is a very... Also, they used the Blue Point remake photos for all the Demon Souls bosses. But this is a very sort of basic boss for Demon Souls. It's the first boss we fight. I don't think it's like exceptional. I don't think it's very memorable. So I'm gonna rank it pretty low. Because it's a D. There are worse bosses than this. Primeval Demon. This has to go into the A tier concepts because these things only show up. A lot of you might not know what these things are if you haven't done a lot of experimentation with world tendency. If you get to black world tendency in a given level, these things spawn, and the idea is that you have corrupted that arena, to such an extent that these sorts of parasitic demons have sort of appeared, and you get the gray, or no, you get the colorless demon souls from these things, which you use to level up certain weapons. Big fan of these conceptually. Fighting them, like there's no actual fight, they just sort of stand there and sometimes they shoot spikes at you. I don't think these need to be fights though. I think these are perfectly good as they are. Um, Let me see. I just need to do something here. All right, Phalanx. This is a boss where I have to give him a bit of props. The Phalanx boss. No, her a bit of boss. I think the Phalanx. I think the character model for the archer is a woman, so her. I really like this. It's a very similar gimmick to Deacons of the Deep. Deacons of the Deep. It's better here than there though. But I like the idea of you just have one boss that is sort of um oh god, now I'm getting messages. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, you have one boss which is 1,000 different smaller bosses. Um, like not a lot going on. The final, like the demon itself, once you've defeated all of its underlings, the demon will just run away from you. I really like that. I think that's novel enough that it brings it above a C tier. All it takes for a C to become a B is like one interesting thing, be it soul stealing or be it running away from the player. Also, I don't see the chat, but I'm looking at it on another monitor. If you can't hear the music, I'm not gonna spend any time like I'm like 20 minutes in. I'm not gonna try and work that around in the middle of this. Just go and play the Dark Souls character creation music for yourself. It's too late for me to fix it on my end. Adjudicator was just an Artorias clone. uh, Please do the games chronologically so that we can keep the games we haven't played yet. Thank you. Yes, I will do that. Midir is the exception, but it's laid out chronologically as per release, so that shouldn't be a problem. Lawrence would be F tier. We'll talk about Lawrence when we get to Lawrence. Very interesting take. Big Shame Storm King was a bit ruined for me on the PS3 emulator because for some reason his purple projectiles are invisible. It might have been fixed recently, but you can also fix it by yourself. I really don't like that. There's also, I think, I hate it in emulation. I think it is unforgivable in remasters. From memory, the final boss of Devil May Cry 1, when you fight him, one of his attacks is, I don't think it's invisible, but I think it's very transparent, and it makes it very hard to dodge it. And like Ratchet and Clank, I think they cooked the damage values for the weapons because they doubled the frame. I think they did something to the frame count. I think the original was also 60 FPS, but they did something. So now, like stuff like the flamethrower deal damage every single frame, and it makes it impossibly strong against every boss. How important is music in a fight to you? Ooh. Music is really good at setting mood. So stuff like Maiden Estrella, that's very much like, I don't think this boss would have been nearly as memorable with another soundtrack. Or like another score playing behind it. But I think it is very telling that the best boss music generally, it is stuff like Maiden Estrella. It is stuff like, let's quickly roll down here, like Crossbreed Priscilla. It is Dark Song Gwendolyn. It's these sorts of, or like Gwyn, it's these sorts of haunting, sort of echoey, very mysterious scores. Whereas something like Ornstein and Smo, or basically everything in Elden Ring, most of the stuff in Elden Ring, it's just sort of bombastic action music, which is fine for like creating that sort of excitement that you want for those sorts of more action-driven fights. But I think, yeah, I think boss music, you can tell early on whether I'm gonna like the fight or not by how how good the boss music is. Penetrator is incredibly basic. Penetrator is like a perfectly basic boss. All right then. Red dragon. This is another example of what I said here. It's like blue dragon. This is a this is a great obstacle. It looks kind of silly that he just does these circles around the towers you're running on. Um, but outside of that, this is a perfectly basic fight. Like it's just a dragon fight. They are good as obstacles in the environments. They're really bad when you have to fight them because they're really big and their physiology is very hard to read. And so you always have to you have to sort of neuter them. Where if you give them the ability to fly, they're impossible to fight. But if you land them on the ground, they're too big to be fought in any sort of satisfying way because they're just too big, and they're not because animation rigs are always set up for like bipedal people. Like we design animation software to do humans. When you have to do like this, or even stuff like Sif, it's they always look a bit weird. It's always harder to tell because the software it's not as intuitive to design for. Tower Knight, this is okay. B tier. This is a sea level fight. There's not a lot going on here, but it has the interesting concept of you have to fight the archers, and then you have to just wail on his legs until he collapses. The armored spider. This is a D. Okay. Like you're in a tunnel. He spews webs at you that slow you down. He spews fireballs. He's like does flailing attacks. This is just like this is not what we're all about. I have really little to say about this fight. Flame Lurker, I think that's another C. I think this is another example of just, actually, I want to give him, I have to put him ahead of Penetrator. This is a C+, because at least the fight arena is really interesting, where you have all of these ancient dragon bones. I also like that he's weak to the sticky white stuff enchantment you can give to your weapons, and there's a lot of that just around the Stonefang area. It's really sad to me that Stonefang, that's my favorite level in Demon Souls, but all the bosses are kind of underwhelming. Dragon God. That being said, I love this concept. I have to give him an A, because the execution, if this was just about the execution, he's here. He may even be here, because the way stealth plays in these games, it's really bad, and the idea of having to break all these barriers, like, this is a boss that is, it advantages so many builds over others. Like, if you want to do a build with a big sword, you're really screwed when it comes to this fight. But I'm gonna put it all the way up here, because a strong concept is enough for me to forgive a bad execution. And I think the idea of you're running down this gigantic artillery sort of self-defense mechanism which the ancient burrowers established to defend against their god, I think that is really interesting, and shooting the ballistas at the dragon god. Also, I think the plan for Smoldering Lake in Dark Souls 3, where you have that giant ballista which shoots at you while you fight the sandworm and the giant crabs, was I think they were remaking this basically, because they had the demon princes. When they combine, they become sort of a demon bat. That was supposed to be like a dragon that lived there, and you would fight that thing, and he would just kill you. But if you got up to the ballista, you could trigger the ballista, shoot the dragon, and you down it. You just destroy its wings like we do to Calamite, and then you'd fight him on the ground, and you could actually fight him for real. But then when he had his health was like halfway down, the sandworm would then appear, and it'd be a duo fight. That is a really strong concept, but we'll get more into that later. Fool's Idol. This is another C for me, where I like this fight, but it's a really sort of haunting, creepy music, but I don't think there's a strong enough concept here to put it into B. The idea of, like, which one is the real Fool's Idol is, like, it's very obvious. You can always see very easily which one is which. No! Okay, I'll actually put her into B, because I like the concept of the guy in the rafters who revives her if you don't kill him first. Oh, I'm so happy he exists, because then I can put her into B. Otherwise, like this is a very basic fight. And the man eaters. This 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 is an A. And it you have to we're adjusting for inflation here because we've seen this concept done 1,000 times since, but the idea of you're just in darkness and there's this boss which you can sometimes just not see and it's really tough and you have to endure, and then when you're halfway down another one shows up. Ooh, that was such a novel idea, and it was such a like it was so defeated. You felt so defeated whenever you encountered this thing. Um, so that's an A for me. Obviously, if they released this boss in like Elden Ring, probably it wouldn't rank so high. But because this was a really unique thing back in the day, I have to put it up here. And that's Demon Souls. Immediately, like look at how we filled out the A and the S tiers. Like this is a lot of strong ideas, and like some mediocre stuff, sure. Um. Ooh, wait a minute. Ornstein and Smo shouldn't be first. Let's do Asylum Demon first. This is a C. This is it's basically just Vanguard again, but it's a bit better. I do like the idea that you're supposed to run past it and then do like the jump attack on it. But like it's not that's not as strong a concept as we have with some of the other fights. It might have been, except we're also then fighting this thing twice more, so we have to be a bit more professional about how we rank this. Um, After him, it's the Taurus Demon and the Moonlight Butterfly. Here it is. I think the Moonlight Butterfly. I think this is a D, because C, because it's like you can. This is a very easy fight if you just summon. I think the witch lady whose name begins with B, Beatrice, I think her name is. Her summon is just below the stairs where you fight this thing. So this is a very easy fight for every build because you can just summon her and she'll do the magic attacks. But I do like the idea of like this is a fight clearly meant for magic users more so than sword users. So I like that. But otherwise it's kind of a meh fight. Taurus Demon. This is a much stronger fight, I think, than Asylum or Moonlight, because first of all, I love, and they don't do this often enough, I love a boss which just appears in the level. Usually when you're fighting a boss, you just walk into like a gigantic open arena and you go, oh, I'm gonna fight something there. This was genuinely a shock to me the first time he cropped up. And then like the added idea of, well, you have to go backwards and kill the archers who are pelting you with arrows, and then if you stick around for too long, he'll just jump up to meet you there. Like, I love this. I may even put it into A tier. The fight itself may not be like the greatest thing in the world, but there's a lot of fun sort of things you can do in this fight. So I have to give it added props on that front. All right then. Iron Golem. Nah, we have to go with Bell Gargoyles. This is another one that's kind of it's like the Man-Eater fight, where, in fact, it's basically the Man-Eaters, but in daylight. So I think this is a better executed fight. I think this, like, it plays much better. I do think there is something lost because it takes place in a much bigger arena, and you have, like, the entire roof, whereas here you just had these very narrow rafters. But, it is just the same fight, more or less, again. So I can't in good conscience give it A tier, but I really, really like this fight, so it's a B. It's also a great moment to meet to use Lautrec or Solaire. So that's an added bit of fun. Alright, next we're going with is Iron Golem, or should we do Sif? Let's do Iron Golem. Nah, let's do Sif. Let's close that out. Sif is A tier. I really like this is a very crazy sort of boss. They do it a few more times since, like an animal with a sword. But I specifically what I love about this fight is that when you get Sif's health down low enough, Sif is like crippled. I love seeing that. I love a boss which gets easier as you do more damage to it, because it tells a story, which I think is always more powerful than like a penetrator or an Asylum Demon, who are more just a fight you fight. And I also like that if you rescued Sif in the DLC before fighting it, Sif will recognize you. It may not make sense time travel wise, but only nerds care about consistency in time travel. Now we do Iron Golem. This is a C. This is, in fact, a D. Yeah, this is a D. Because, like... I see, it's no worse than, like, a Dirty Colossus or a Leechmonger. It's very much sort of in that arena of... There's nothing, like... It just doesn't have enough oomph. But then... yeah, I don't think it's interesting enough to go into C. I think C, like... At least, like, the Penetrator, he looks cool. The Asylum Demon, he has that fun running around gimmick. There's nothing like that in Iron Golem. Iron Golem is just kind of boring. Right, next up, we have... I don't think we have Ornstein and Smo yet. Surely there are other fights. We can do Pinwheel before we go to Anor Londo. So where's Pinwheel? Pinwheel, Pinwheel, Pinwheel. He is here. And, hey, blasphemy, I know. I'm thinking of putting him into B. Because I think this fight is really creepy. Like, it's a very easy fight. That's a joke everybody knows. But, like, it's such a creepy encounter the first time you get there. Especially, like, this fight is not a pushover if you fight him before you do the Undead Berg stuff. He actually puts up a fight then, because that's the level range he's tuned to. And, like, just the arena itself, the weird sort of... It's kind of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just inside of this giant catacomb, the arena, because it has, like, these skeletons that are all strung up, and the way, like, he sort of looks like he's, like, a Nito fanatic. I really, really love everything about this fight. I think, like, the fight itself, actually, like, it's very, Fool's Idol, where you summon just more versions of yourself, and which is the real one. But I think the added creep factor is enough to, like, I'll put them side by side, where something like Maneater and Bell Demon, or Bell Gargoyle, these are the same fights again, but, like, this does not do enough to justify it being in the same rank as Maneater. I think Pinwheel does enough new things just on the creep factor alone that I'll put him next to Fool's Idol. Alright, now I think we should do Stray Demon. Okay. This is D. Nah, this is... Okay, I'm gonna put it into D. I don't think the novelty of falling through the floor of the first boss arena is interesting enough. It maybe I would have put it higher if, like... imagine if it had, like, chains or something, keeping it grounded so it couldn't jump around. Or, like, just something like that. It was the same model, but it worked just a little bit different. I think that would have been enough to push it over the edge. But it's just the same fight again, but a little less interesting. So I can't give it C. Gaping Dragon 2. This is... Okay. I think this is a really fun-looking boss, but I also think this is a great boss for co-op. Fighting this boss yourself... Like, this isn't, like, I've talked about this already. Dragons don't play well when you're playing these games. They don't fight well. But because it's such a big boss with so much health, and I think it gives, like, 20,000 souls, which is a decent amount at that point in the game, this is a really fun boss to do co-op on. So I'm gonna bump him up from D to C because of that. I also like the idea of, like, the introduction, where it's, like, an alligator's head, and it just keeps coming, and it's just bigger and bigger and bigger. I think that's fun. I also like the idea of, like, this is a monster. This is like a dragon that has devolved in its evolution because it's just been eating feces and filth and stuff. And now it's just become this sort of manifestation of endless hunger. So that's fun. If the fight itself wasn't, like, kind of a crappy fight, I'd give it higher. I really wish this was a B, but it's just missing out. Ornstein and Smo, A tier. Because this is, like, the boss that I feel like sort of made Dark Souls, and from that sort of made this is sort of the standard bearer for duo fights in these games. And we've seen them go back to this formula very often. This is very different from like the Taurus Demon or the Bell Gargoyles, because you're fighting two guys from the get go. Coffee. And yeah, I mean, what can I say about Ornstein and Smo that hasn't been said before? I think the boss run, like the arena up to the Ornstein and Smo, I think that's terrible. But I think like this fight is good enough. This is a pristine version of what this boss is supposed to be. All right then, let's do Lost Isolith first. Demon Fire Sage E. Like, adding fire to this boss did it no. This is just, you're making it worse. Stop this. It's bad. Centipede Demon. Here's the thing. This is an E boss. This is a terrible boss. This is not a good boss. But it has this fun gimmick of if you cut off its hands, they become sort of independent acting little centipedes. And that's fun. This boss is trash. It really, really works poorly with the camera. But I do give a lot of bonus points to, there is a fun gimmick there. It's just terribly executed. This boss in like something like Sekiro would have been S tier, I think. That of Chaos, but first we have... Oh wait, we didn't do Chaos Witch Quaylak. That's a D to me. I really don't like this fight. I think the gimmick of her vomiting up lava, which sort of destroys the boss arena, it plays really poorly, because whenever you have like Maneater Mildred with you, she'll just stand in that, and it plays poorly to me. I also think AoE attacks in bosses generally, I don't like them. It's very rare that I do like them. I don't like them because they always seem like a crutch against a weak animation set, where because this boss is so big and so clunky, like this boss and so imposing, you had to sort of nerf its ability to move around, or otherwise it would be impossible to fight. But because you did, the player can just get behind the boss and attack, so you had to give it an AoE attack. I think it's not like lazy, it's a fine solution, but I never like that solution. I like solutions where I imagine something more like Radahn, where if you sort of corner it and you deal enough damage to it from behind, rather than doing an AoE attack, it just sort of jumps up and it disappears, and it just sort of resets itself. I think that's more interesting. So if instead of doing an AoE attack, imagine if Quaylak just shot like a spiderweb in the ceiling, and then she started walking on the ceiling itself, and then tried to drop down at you like Ludwig did. I think that would have been a much better solution to sort of get her, don't do an AoE attack. Do something interesting like that. Which, like, this is easier said than done, obviously, but can't give kudos to this. I like her sister a lot better, too. Ceaseless Discharge. I really like the concept behind Ceaseless Discharge, but I don't like it enough. Because this is such a terribly designed boss. I love that he isn't aggro until you steal his sister's clothes, and I also love that you can just run away from him and he'll just try to chase you, and then you can kill him really, really easily. Those are fun concepts. Visually, he's very interesting, but this fight is just... it's not interesting enough. It's too bad. It's too bad for me to give him those kudos. Even like the Centipede Demon, it's like, ooh, you can still fight that thing. Trying to fight Ceaseless Discharge without cheating him, it's such a crapshoot. I really don't like this fight. And I think the thing is, even if we have the exploits and you can easily get rid of him, the fight should be good enough that I choose not to use the exploits. Like, the fight should at least be good enough that I try to do the fight legit. Which is why I give Bed of Chaos A tier concept, because there is an exploit for Bed of Chaos where you can just sort of unload your save and load back in, and then you'll be spawned right back outside of the boss arena, but the damage you did will have been maintained, so you don't have to jump through the destroyed the obstacle course. You don't have to move around that anymore. But I never do that because I do think the core concept of running around this crumbling arena, I think that's strong enough that I still find it's interesting to do. It is a terribly designed boss, but the concept is great. And the run up to the boss, it's like it's not that bad. It's not that offensive or empty. Um, so yeah, A tier concept. If it was just the execution, this would be like down here in the Fs. But strong idea, so I gotta give credit to that. Let's see. I guess I've gotten a few more comments on this since. I keep pausing my own stream and it unloads all the chats. Very interesting take. Big Shame Storm King was a bit ruined for me on the PlayStation emulator. Yeah, okay. I was so scared that I had like 20 comments which I wasn't able to read because the way my setup is right now. Alright. Gravelord Nito. This is in the ace for me. For the same reason Adjudicator is. Because you land in the arena and you can't find the boss. But he's doing magic attacks at you. And there are skeletons coming at you. So you have to run in and you have to try to find him. But if you do that, you'll aggro the other skeletons. I love that. I love how, like, again, just be careful. Like the idea, like all throughout the Grave of the Giants area, Tomb of the Giants area, it's so dark and you've had to really be careful not to go too fast because you'll aggro something. And then how they reincorporate that idea into the boss. Like if you keep on to the lesson you've been taught all throughout that level, you'll be fine. If you go crazy, if you panic, if you just miscalculate at the end, you're gonna lose. So I quite like that. I also think it just looks really interesting. Dark Sun Gwendolyn. I think this is a D. I don't think this is a fun enough concept. Like, oh, it's an endless hallway. Okay, but the fight is like, it's really boring. It's just kind of tedious. I am a big fan though of the Dark Sun in Anne Orlando, but I'm not gonna count that up to the boss fight. I think that's its own thing. Crossbreed Priscilla. I like that. I like that she gets invisible and you have to follow the footsteps in the snow. I'm also always a fan of optional bosses like this, where you can just talk to her and you can just leave. You don't have to fight her. Violence isn't the way. Capra Demon. Oh, hold on. This is E tier. I never have any trouble with this fight. I've never had any trouble with it, for real. I think I've died to him maybe once or twice. But I think the encounter is, like, I get the idea of like the Capra Demon is sort of a mob boss of that arena, but I think it's really just terrible execution all throughout. Seath, just like D. Again, this is just like, oh yeah, you have the fun gimmick of breaking the crystal. This is just another one of those bosses that's just a gigantic thing that flails around. Also, getting the Moonlight Greatsword from his tail is really bad because he'll just rotate around so fast to track at you that you can't always get the attacks on the tail off. And sometimes the tail will just be clipping out of bounds. It's really bad. I don't like it. I also think that, very similar to my boy, the old hero, like this boss is supposed to be blind, but like old hero, at least you sort of like, if you don't move, the old hero will just skulk around looking for you. Seath is also blind, but he still knows where you are all the time. It's really bad. I don't like it. Four Kings. This is in the S tiers. Okay, because first of all, just the sort of dizziness you get when the darkness, it sort of obfuscates scale. I also just New Londo is my favorite area in Dark Souls 1. I love everything about this fight. And I think it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's much I can say that hasn't been said 1,000 times already. One of the best fights in the game. Right up there with Gwyn himself, the Lord of Cinder. 2 S tiers in a row, closing out the game. It's interesting to me, now that I'm looking at this, that I thought Demon Souls would be much better represented in my sort of higher ranked bosses. But like two S tiers, 4, 3, 3, 4. It's like it's kind of even all throughout. Like Dark Souls has a few more clunkers, but it also just has more bosses in general. So, um, I suppose we should do the DLC. Sanctuary Guardian, that's a C. It's just like a basic fight. I like it. It's fine. Artorias, S tier. The novelty of like a straight up hardcore execution challenge in a from well, like with the from control setup. This was so cool and so much fun. If you were talking about influence, he'd be right here in the Fs. I think this fight has done so much damage to subsequent fights, subsequent bosses, but for the time, this was cream of the crop material. Really like it. Calamite, this is another D. Love the novelty of having to shoot it down, get Goff to shoot it down or shoot it down yourself. Love the idea that he doubles damage to you if he catches you, but it's just a big thing that flails around. Manus, I think this is a B. I think this is a really good sort of, like, whereas Seath and Calamite, I feel they're just big things that do a lot of damage. Calamite is better designed than Seath, I will say, though. For Manus, I think there's a bit more craft to it. And I also like that you're in this really dark arena. And I think there's something to be said about the animation of this fight, that even if the arena is it's really dark, it's as dark as it is, I don't think I ever died to him because I couldn't see him. So there's something to be said about the animation, that even in that dark arena, I was able to know, like, what he is doing at a given time. Like, props to that. Which brings us to Dark Souls 2 and my second sip of coffee. I wish Seath was actually blind. Yeah, me too. Boss tier list. Hi, Ezra. Hi, them. I like that Gwendolyn is sort of a bullet hell boss, but yeah, there isn't enough going on. You know, now that you describe it as a bullet hell boss, I am kind of inclined. That's a really fun way to describe Gwendolyn. I'm wondering. I'm gonna put him in like the front of the D's, because that is a fun way to describe it. I remember someone once saying Manus was the first Bloodborne style boss. I've made the observation before that if you look at the Cleric Beast and you look at Manus, they are the same thing. They're just a gigantic sort of humanoid creature with a horn and a gigantic sort of asymmetrical arm. That's one of them is just huge. And I made the observation that I think the idea was, like, this was a deliberate callback to Manus, where this is the first boss of Bloodborne, this and Gascoigne, and just this idea of, oh, the final boss of Dark Souls, the toughest thing in Dark Souls, that's the first thing in Bloodborne. We've raised the stakes. But Bloodborne comes later. We're just gonna shotgun our way through Dark Souls 2 because I don't think there's a lot of surprises here. In the way I feel about these guys. The Rotten, I think this is a C. I think this is like this is just a sort of it's just the adjudicator without the fun arena. But I do like his design, so I'll give him that. He's like a kid-friendly version of the one Reborn. Executioner's Chariot. Oof. I wish I had more time for this fight. Like, this is a fun concept. It's not a great concept, so I can't give it much higher than D. Skeleton Lords. Like, what are we doing here? That's not terrible. This is just like another boss. Covetous Demon, meh. Mytha. I think she has like a fun-ish animation set. I'll put her into the C, because you also have that whole burning the windmill down, which I like, but I don't think she's great. Smelter Demon, it's just another fight. Old Iron King. I think this is a B. I think I think the hitboxes for this guy are a bit wonky, and I
don't like that the boss arena. Ooh, there's something about the boss arena. Maybe it's just the size of it, but I don't like how like I get small. I think this is a bit too small. It's a bit too cramped. But I think this is a fun fight. It's in a horrible level, but this is really sort of a bright spot off that level. Scorpion is Naika? No, Najka. Like, what are we doing? It's a D. There's a lot of D's. Royal Rat Authority, E. Get away, like, none of this. Stop doing this. This is just a lot of enemies coming at me all at once. Prowling Mages in the Congregation. Like, this is... Here's the thing. This is not here. Because I feel to get below D, you have to be, like... You have to be really, really bad. This is not really, really bad because everybody here is really easy. So, yeah, D. That's fine. The Last Giant. This... Ooh. I think this is A tier concept, execution meh. Because I think this is like... It's a high point in Dark Souls 2's early game, this thing. Even though the fight is... Like, it's really lazy. It's one of those fights where you fight a giant thing and it basically boils down to trying to step on you or, like, swing its hands at you. But it looks really fun. And I think it also gives you a good idea for, like, what exactly happened in this world. Like, it doesn't give you a good idea, but it, like, I think this builds intrigue. And I like that. I don't think the fight plays... Like, this is not an offensive fight to me. This is probably just a D tier fight, but... Really fun concept. I like that. Duke's Tier Freya. It's a giant thing that flails around. Twin Dragon Riders. Just no. Even here. I don't like this. Get this out of there. Don't need this. Looking Glass Knight. I think this is a C. I think this is a D tier fight that is bumped up by a really strong concept and visual design. A lot of people have a lot of energy for the Looking Glass Knight. And like his niche... His gimmick, I don't like that gimmick. I should give him B. I think C is a bit too much. I'm being too harsh. I'm being blinded by this being Dark Souls 2. Demon of Song. Okay. This is a C tier fight, but the visual design of the Demon of Song, like, that's here. If this was just visual design, this is what this would look like. I love the idea of this sad face that just exists in the mouth of this horrible frog. But yeah, like I can't just give him a lot of points because I love how he looks. It's a fine fight. It's okay. I like that it's like you don't deal damage or you deal significantly less damage when the mouth is closed. But I can't rank him much higher than C. Velstadt, oof, like it's the Penetrator again, right? It's just a Dark Souls fight. There's nothing more and nothing less I can say about it. Vendrick, he S tier. This is an S tier fight. First of all, the gimmick of if you have more giant souls, it's easier to kill him. I like that and how it sort of feeds into the the lingering hatred the giants have for Vendrick being what fuels your ability to destroy him. But I also think, like, it's kind of like with Gwyn, or Alant even, where all throughout the game, you've heard stories about, like, the Big King. This guy who, with his force of will, changed the entire world. And he reorganized the order of the entire world itself. And then when you meet him, it's just like this mediocre kind of husk. Gwyn was not supposed to be like a pushover, but I'm happy that he turned out to be one. Alant obviously was supposed to be, and I think somebody once said that Dark Souls 2, it could have ended on Vendrick, and that would have been a strong ending. I don't think that's quite right. I think the God's... It's not God's Grave. I don't remember what that area is called. I don't think that's a strong final level. You don't end the game there. But I think this is a good enough sort of reveal that you could have ended the game on him in a better level. S tier. I love this thing. Guardian Dragon. Oh, well. No, wait, Guardian Dragon. What am I doing? Ancient Dragon is F tier. Guardian Dragon, that's like an E. Um, it's just like, it's just a big lizard. What can I say? Ancient Dragon, however, this is the exact same issue I have with Midir, where it's a 10-minute long fight. It takes so long. You have so few opportunities to actually deal damage, and you only need to screw up once and you're dead. This is the worst kind of difficulty, where it's punishing you for wanting it to be over. It's so boring that you try to get one more hit in, and because you do, you die. Giant Lord. I put this in here, right with the last giant. This fight and the run up to this fight in the giant memory, pretty bad. I'm especially not a fan of how we change the elevation we're standing on, and he doesn't do anything about it. It looks kind of weird, kind of like how the red dragon in Demon Souls continually flying around the towers looked weird. But I love this thing. I love fighting him. Just because of like the novelty of it and the idea of we're killing this leader of this subjugated race. I think that's really fun. Oh, okay. Dark Lurker. This is A tier concept. Execution maybe not so great. This thing, I don't want this video to go on for 5 hours. Suffice it to say, Dark Lurker is the most interesting thing to me in the entirety of Dark Souls 2, and the fact that he went, like in the original draft, he was clearly, in the original game, before they changed everything, this was clearly a much bigger deal, but they changed it. He's just some optional boss tucked away somewhere, easily missable. Ooh, you had something here. I have to give him this, I have to give him placing here. The Pursuer, like, no, you know what? He's not a C because he has terrible hitboxes. Throne Watcher and Throne Defender, I think that's a fine C, where I don't have a problem with them and their gimmick of healing each other, but I think they really suffer from being the first of like 2 more bosses to come, which is really bad. Nishandra, oh, this is a D. This is a really disappointing final boss. And Oldia, I think he's just a marginal improvement. He's a bit better because at least this is a character you have like a relationship with, rather than just a lady you talk to maybe once, maybe. Okay. This is the worst. This is the worst thing in the world. Don't put me up against 5 different guys, all of whom are employing different kinds of degenerate strategies against me. Ilana, this is also a terrible boss. Sin, terrible boss. This Smelter Demon, like, again, just E. There's nothing going on here. Stop reusing your old bosses in this. Ilana just summons enemies, does AoE attacks, does homing attacks at me. This is terrible. I don't like this. I think this employs all the worst aspects of From Combat. Sin, likewise, like, I probably should put him into E instead. Or, not like D, yeah, E. Because I'm a lot less forgiving because of like the poison status ailment and yeah, the flying. I feel like Calamite and Seath, at least they're mostly stationary. This thing, like, no. Fume Knight, F tier. I hate this guy. I have beaten him. Okay, I'm one of those, like, I have that luxurious trophy of, like, this is like the, I think this guy still to this day has the lowest clear rate out of any From boss. I beat him. I don't think it was worth it. I would never fight him again. This fight sucks ass. Sir Alan, it's like, it's a fine fight. It's not great. It's not terrible. Ava, hold on. Ava. Okay, yeah, Ava is the invisible one. Like, it's fine. Can't really say anything bad about it. I like the gimmick of her being invisible enough that her sort of clunky visual design, I can forgive that. Dragon Rider, what are we doing? Luten Zalen, just it's two things you have to fight. Run up to this is terrible, but I'm not gonna count that. Burnt Ivory King, oh, we're talking S tier. The Proto Radon, you kidding me? This thing is beautiful. I love it. I love that you're bringing these soldiers with you to fight this, like again, just recurring motif here. I love former kings. Everybody here is a king in my S tier. I like former kings who sort of just become shadows of their former glory. And I think Burnt Ivory King is a real highlight of Dark Souls 2. He's so good that it's worth going through the Ivory King DLC to fight him. Old Dragon Slayer, it's just Ornstein again. Flexile Sentry, it's just like, I'll give him a C. I like Flexile Sentry more than like a Leechmonger, because at least he has like two sides. Belfry Gargoyles, okay. You can't just redo the Bell Gargoyles, but do more and get the same ranking. I don't hate this fight. I quite like this fight, in fact, but it's like, this is like, again, we're doing this. If we like the Bell Gargoyles were a retread of Maneater, and now you're retreading the Bell Gargoyles with even less novelty. So the Ruin Sentinels, like it is what it is. Nothing great. Lost Sinner. I think Lost Sinner is like a C. And the Royal Rat Vanguard. I think we are talking about an E. I don't like this fight. Alright. Dark Souls 2. Clearly, we're watching like the lower tiers be filled out. But I should note that I'm not opposed to any of these fights in and of themselves. A lot of it is, what do I think the combat system excels at? And I like the combat system for its ability to be directed to provide a specific emotion to the fight. And I don't like it when the combat system is just, we're fighting a guy who's fighting us. I don't think that's interesting. So, because I think the bosses in Dark Souls 2 are not nearly as emotion driven as they are in Demon Souls or Dark Souls 1, I have to knock them down a lot. But that standard doesn't apply to Bloodborne. Bloodborne's combat is deep enough, it is interesting enough that something like Martyr Logarius, which is just, it is, in a Dark Souls game, Martyr Logarius is, he's Sir Alan, or he's Penetrator. He's just a guy you roll around and you fight him. But because of Bloodborne's revamped combat system, I have a lot more energy for him. But I think it's best if we start at the beginning. Cleric Beast, I think this is an A. Not because the fight is necessarily so great. It does kind of lend... It's kind of because of that thing I talked about, where it has Manus's... Like, it looks like Manus. Actually, I'll give it a B. Because it looks like Manus, like, I immediately go to, oh, this is the first enemy. I talked about this earlier. I'm not repeating myself. And I also think, visually, it's such a beautiful fight. Just the design of this thing is really beautiful. I think Bloodborne really brought hair animations into these games with a vengeance. Because you see in Dark Souls 3 that they just reused the whatever animation script or whatever they created for this. Big fan of Cleric Beast. And we should find Gascoigne next. Where is Gascoigne? German, Wonderborn, Moon Presence, Father Gascoigne. I'm also giving him a B because, again, I love a good execution fight when the mechanics I'm fighting with are deep enough that they can sort of present that without it becoming a slog. And Father Gascoigne is never a slog. This is a really fun fight. He's kind of easy now that I know his animation timings, but and I can always just shoot him to get the visceral attacks in. But I like this guy. Okay. I'm wondering if I should okay, no. You know what? I'm gonna go through the chalice dungeons before I go through the main game. I think that's fair. Merciless Watchers, it's just there's nothing going on here. It's not interesting. Next, Thumerian Descendant. This is like a strong fight. I would say that. Thumerian Elder. No, Thumerian Descendant. I think is a D. Thumerian Elders, whom I'm thinking of. That's a C. That's a fine boss. Undead Giant. Like, it's got like boluses and stuff you can attack that do massive damage. I think that's fine. It is also a big enemy that doesn't feel awkward to fight, so I guess it has that going for itself. Watchdogs of the Old Lords. I fought this thing so often that I'm kind of sick of it. I have to give it a D. The Marian Queen. I have fought her, but I've never beaten her because I don't like fighting her. I will say though, she's probably an A tier concept. Just the idea of you're not actually fighting Yharnam, you're fighting Murgo within Yharnam. I think that's interesting. The Abhorrent Beast, I think that's a C. That's fine. The Beast Possessed Soul, that's a D. That's a very uninteresting fight. The Bloodletting Beast. Okay. I think that's a D. I don't really like this fight. I like the story of like Lawrence and all that, but I think the fight itself is kind of mediocre. Brainsucker, like that's an E. This is not a boss. This is a mob enemy. You're just repurposing as a boss. In fact, Merciless Watcher and Beast Possessed Soul, they should be here too. Don't give me mob enemies and give them a boss health bar. That's not fun. Forgotten Madman. Oh, this is okay. So I'm gonna break the rule I just established. I like this thing. I like this because it's Ludwig. I like that. Keeper of the Old Lords. What are we doing? Just again, don't give me an NPC to fight unless it's Ludwig. I will forgive that. Lauren Darkbeast. Okay, hold on. We have Parl here. Like, just let's just put it into E. This is not Parl's rating. I'm specifically rating Lauren Darkbeast this because it's a repeat of Parl. Lauren Silverbeast, don't stop doing this. And the Man-Eater Boar, no. Okay. A lot of Chalice bosses just got dumped down there. That's fine. Anyways, Witch of Hemwick. I think this is like a D. It's an E. This is not like again. Yeah, don't give me mob enemies to fight as a boss. Even though they have a different gimmick, don't do that. That's not fun. I hate Bloodletting Beast's one-punch attack. Yeah, I also hate it because that attack. I know exactly the one you're talking about. It just nothing else in the game moves like that. It's always so clunky when it happens. Neo 2 had a much better version of the Flexile Sentry. The visual design of the Looking Glass Knight makes it special. Yeah, I suppose. Nashandra has like the only memorable theme in Dark Souls 2. That is actually pretty fair. Yeah, no other boss music is really coming to me. But yeah, Bloodborne. Witch of Hemwick, get her out of there. Where is Vicar Amelia? She is Shadows of Yharnam, Darkest Prophecies was a one reborn Abriadas, Mercus Witness, Amygdala, Gorman. What the hell? Oh, here she is. Vicar Amelia. That's a C. That's like, it's a fine fight. What can I say? It's kind of like the Cleric Beast again, where it's just a big monster that attacks you, but I don't think she does enough interesting new stuff to differentiate herself from the novelty of the Cleric Beast's first encounter. She heals herself, but I don't really care. Next up, we have the Shadows of Yharnam. Uh, I think this is a D. I think D by Bloodborne standards, I should say, because this it's not a bad fight. Like this is not as uninteresting as like the Iron Golem or the old Dragon Slayer. This is way more fun than that. But knowing what Bloodborne can do, this is a very weak fight, I think. In fact, I probably ooh. Yeah, let's move things around. I'm gonna we're now evaluating the Bloodborne fights, Bloodborne bosses specifically on what I know they can be rather than what we ultimately got. So this should be fine. So rather than like, because Shadows of Yharnam as an execution challenge fight is infinitely better than the Dragon Riders. But the Dragon Riders, you have to adjust for that being Dark Souls' combat, whereas Shadows of Yharnam is a Bloodborne combat. Alright then. Cleaned that up. Next up, let's do Rom. I think Rom. Ooh. I have to put her into C. I think if you just think of it in terms of the fight, I think it's a D. But I think the setting is so interesting that it's like a B. So we have to compromise on a C. Because I love everything about this fight except the fight. Also, she's Miyazaki's favorite Bloodborne boss, so that has to account for something. Next up, we're gonna do the one Reborn. It's Tower Knight again, but I don't think it has as much interesting stuff going on. So it's a C. It's very big, and it's big in a very unique way for these games where I don't think its size impedes on my ability to have fun fighting it. I also like the boss arena and how like the one Reborn will follow you up to the rafters. That's fun. I'm drinking carbonated water while I do this. The Daughter of the Cosmos, Ebriadis. I think D. I love the reveal of Ebriadis. I love the design of Ebriadis, but like, I think it's not focused enough to be fun, because I always just try to brute force it. There's way too many tendrils. Yeah, exactly. There's way too many tendrils going about. Ebriadis is just like Seath, where it's a big thing flailing around everywhere. Let's see, Martyr Logarius. I think that's a C. I think he's stronger than like the Ebriadises and Vicar Amelias. A lot of people don't like this guy, and I get that. But if you just allow for the if you allow for the lock-on breaking, if you stop focusing so much on that, I think this is a much easier fight, because you probably wouldn't want to fight him if he didn't break the lock-on. I'm going to put him into D. I think he should be C, but I can't forgive that the game does a really poor job of communicating that when you shoot him in his second phase, the bullets just ping off, so you can't actually visceral attack him. You can't parry him like that. Mikolash, 8-year concept. Just, he's a crazy guy running around in a dream. The fight is nothing spectacular. If you ever have trouble with him because he spams those AoE attacks, if you shoot him, he will cancel whatever spell he's going to cast. So that's how you put him into easy mode immediately. But I like the idea of like fighting this weird, crazy guy in a nightmare. Amygdala, I think that's a C. I think that's a really strong fight, considering Bloodborne's combat system. I also like that Amygdala rips off its arms. Here we go. Bloodstarved Beast. Yeah, I don't think that's as strong as some other fights there. Dark Beast Parl. I think Dark Beast Parl, like Amygdala, it's a big thing, but it's not like just flailing around wildly. It's a very focused fight, and I really like that. In spite of the size, it's very directed. I love that. Celestial Emissary, that's a D. What are we doing? What are we doing here? This is not it. Yeah, okay. So, Murgo's Wet Nurse. I think this is also a C. Strong fight. I love the gimmick of creating that dark fog and then attacking us with a duplicate. I also like that she isn't that tough. I think I beat her my first time around in my first try. So that's fun. Gurman. And while we're at it, let's just chuck the moon presence up here too. This is this is the good stuff. This is like again a beautiful haunting melody, which talks about like the first hunter and the cruel fate that befell him. I love the setting, the white flowers, and yeah, I don't know. I think I said all I could say about this fight in my Bloodborne commentary. I love it. This is S tier definitely. It's also interesting because it's a fun sort of juxtaposition from the sort of villain fights of previous games where you have like uh, King Alant, you have Gwyn, I suppose Vendrick, or even Aldia if you want, where you have these sorts of legendary figures who are built up, but then what they amount to is being these shadows of their former self. Gurman is built up to be like he's in a wheelchair, he's old, he's tired, he's built up as like feeble and weak. But then when he stands up, you're like, oh shit, it's getting real now. All right then, Ludwig, S tier. This is exactly what a great execution challenge can be because wild physiology, just crazy physiology, but it reads really well. I love that instead of doing just a crazy AOE, like I said earlier, he just jumps to the ceiling to create distance from the player. The second phase, he no longer takes beast damage because he's no longer a beast. Just everything about this boss, they got perfect, I think. The living failures, this is a D. What are we doing? This is not terrible. A lot of people hate this boss. I don't hate this boss. I think this is just another boss. Lady Maria, I think she's a C. I think this is a solid execution challenge. Lawrence, the first Vicar. Okay, I'm gonna put this into A. People are not gonna agree, maybe, because it's just the cleric beast again, but now also fire. I love for Sif. Sif gets easier on phase 2 because you've crippled Sif. Lawrence is like split apart in phase 2, and he's just kind of dragging himself after like around the ground and all that. That's the sort of stuff I love to see in these games. And the Orphan of Kos, I think Orphan of Kos is like a B. I think this is a strong combat challenge, but I don't think it has an interesting sort of central gimmick. I do like that the Curse of Kos is not lifted unless you kill the dark shadow thing that comes out of Kos's corpse. So it like you get to fight the final boss of the DLC without that affecting whether or not you lift the curse. And like if you don't think Gurman or Maria like they deserve to have peace, you still get to make that choice independent. So like it doesn't lock you out of the fight, but yeah, I wish I could put this into A, but I don't think it nudges above that final threshold. My voice is getting a bit tired. Dark Souls 3. All right then. Ebrietas is not really a fun fight, not to mention that one charge attack. Yeah, that's another thing I should probably talk a bit more about. I should have talked a bit more about is that I feel like there is something really annoying about even if you have full health. I don't think a boss should ever be able to one punch, just one strike you. I feel like I don't like the idea of adaptive scaling where the boss is just always sort of rubber banded around your level. I think that's a terrible idea for these games. But I do think that their strongest attack damage value should not be allowed to be more than, say, 90% of the player's max health plus all of their physical defenses at a given time. So that can be kind of adaptive. So, like, no attack of the boss can be enough to destroy the player in one punch if the player has full health. And it just like the armor is automatically calculated into that. Obviously, if you have half health, the boss can still do that damage, which is equal to 90% of your health and kill you. But I hate those sorts of one strike attack deaths. I think they should get rid of those because the animations of these bosses, they're not tight enough that you can always avoid that, and you are just going to get certain deaths that are kind of crappy because the game just didn't communicate something well enough. All right, Old Demon King. Yeah, sure. Let's start there. Old Demon King. I like the gimmick of Sif and Lawrence where they become weaker once you're done fighting them. But I don't think the Old Demon King fight is that good. The Old Demon King by himself, probably I'd put him into D. But because he does that AoE explosion that then drains all of his power, that's going to bump him up into C for me. Pontiff Sullivan. People love Pontiff Sullivan. I'm not feeling it. I think he's a D. I think he just doubles himself. He does just like those attacks. I feel like his stamina is a bit too much. I think I don't get it. I don't get the love this guy gets. I like his design and like the whole King of the Eclipse thing that was cut from the original game, but I don't think he's that interesting. Tell me off in the chat. Aldrich. I think Aldrich is like a C. I think this is a much stronger fight. Because again, this is one of those fights where you have a giant thing that just flails around, but because he doesn't do damage when he's flailing around. That's just his body, and you have to be careful for the magic attacks. I think that's kind of cool. Yorm the Giant. Yorm is a less interesting version of the Storm King, so I'm gonna put him into C. I don't think this is a really interesting fight if you take away the Storm Ruler mechanic, but I suppose he should be there. That feels right to me. Dancer of the Boreal Valley. I think this is a very sort of it's a Dark Souls 3 boss. I don't think it does anything exceptional. I don't think it's terrible. It just is what it is. Oseros, I'm going to give him a B. I think he has a crazy enough physiology that I like him. He's not that hard. He is just kind of another boss, but I think he looks cool enough that I'll give that to him. Also, he has that child that he destroys, whose model they removed, but that's still fun. We'll give that some points. Champion Gunder, no, this is F tier. This is a this boss in Sekiro, A tier. This boss in Dark Souls 3, no, get it out of there. I hate this thing. Too fast, doesn't give you enough time for recovery. It's very punishing for certain builds. I think I've only beaten him once. I really don't like when the combat system is being tasked with bosses which it just doesn't feel like they belong there. So, Champion Gunder, E tier. Dragon Slayer armor, it's just another fight. What can I say? Yeah, C tier. It's Dragon Slayer armor. Dragon Slayer armor. Who's gonna kick up a stink about that? Wait a minute. Lothric, Younger Prince. Okay, this is wow. Okay, this is a weird way to phrase this. This is basically both the princes. I'm feeling generous with this, because this is an execution challenge, kind of, but it's also like it's another one of these great warriors brought low, and I do think there's a fun gimmick in the younger prince always resurrects his brother when you kill him, because you have to actually kill Lothric. I think this is a fun fight. I don't think I've ever not fought this fight. Like I'll play the game, any of these games, for like 10 hours, and then I'll just drop it and just not pick it up again, and I'll get maybe to, like, I'll maybe complete half the game, or I'll complete like 2/3 of the game or whatever. I don't think I've ever dropped the game after, when I have access to Lothric. I think I always at least fight Lothric because I really like that fight. Ancient Wyvern, this is like, no, this is an E. This is a bad boss. I don't like this thing. If you try to fight it conventionally, it's terrible. If you use the level gimmick to fight it, it's a fine concept. It's not an A-tier concept by any means. And the fact that you just kill it immediately, no, that's a joke. EU Dex Gundyr, like D. He's better than his crazy brother, Champion Gundyr, but no. I'm not feeling it with this one. I think this is a very uninteresting fight. Nameless King. I kind of want to put him into E. I don't really like this fight. I think the first phase of this fight is a real crapshoot because I think that it has like the gimmick of the Four Kings where you can't quite tell distance because of the backgrounds or like the arena. That's really fun in the Four Kings. But in the Nameless King, you have to be so precise when you're attacking the Storm Beast. Is it? No, it's not called the Storm Beast. It's the dragon thing he's on. You have to be so precise, and I like to use heavy weapons, so I usually don't hit it. It's kind of a crapshoot. I think you can actually do better attacks with it if you have like magic or miracles, or if you have the Storm Ruler weapon. But I'm not a fan of that first phase. The second phase, that's another one of those. Oh, it's just, again, you just have to learn his timings and roll around properly. I'm not a fan. I think he looks really cool, but I don't like fighting him. Soul of Cinder, I think that's a D. This is one of a lot of people's favorite boss. I'm not crapping on anybody who likes any of these bosses. I'm noticing that my view count just dropped after I put Nameless King into E, so I have to put out a disclaimer. But Soul of Cinder, I don't know. I'm not feeling it with this one. I feel like he's kind of just a supercharged Gwyn, and a lot of what I liked about Gwyn was that he wasn't supercharged, so I can't really put him higher. Champion, Gravesender, and Wolf. What are we doing? Like, again, this is a boss we've fought 100 times before by now. Sister Frida. Okay. I'm gonna put this into B. I don't like Frida. I think Frida, boring boss, whatever. Father Ariandel is crazy. He's just like this gigantic hulking monster that's chained to a chair and he's beating you with a frying pan. I love that. I think that is exactly what I want from these games. And he brings an otherwise D-tier boss way up into the Bs. The Demon Prince, I talked about this earlier, where I think there was a more interesting concept with him before. But like, again, it's Calamite, it's Seath, you have a giant dragon thing, it flies around, it deals damage. Yeah, fun. Get it out of there, no good. Half-Light Spear of the Church, like a D. This is, I think, this is like how Soul of Cinder is a supercharged Gwyn. I feel like this is just a supercharged old monk. Where, again, we're summoning things, but, like, it's not... it doesn't have that sort of impact that old monk had. Whether it's just because it isn't calibrated right, maybe I just don't like that level as well, so it's not a good cap-off to it. I don't know. There's just... I don't think there is enough meat to this to really celebrate it too highly. Oh, wait. There's a lot of early game bosses here. I don't like that, like, they have True Monk and Sakura Dragon, and then way down here they'll have, like, Gyobu. It's like, just, I prefer it if they did it more in order of how you actually fight them. Hold on. So let's do Vort. I think that's a D. Nobody's gonna get mad at that. Curse-Rotted Greatwood. A-tier concept. Love the concept. I don't like the fight. I love the concept. Crystal Sage. I've fought this guy like 500 times in these games by now. Don't like him. Deacons of the Deep. This is again a supercharged version of an earlier boss, that being Phalanx this time around. I don't think this is as strong as Phalanx by any means. I think this is a very forgettable boss. I don't think it's an offensive boss, but I'm not feeling it. Abyss Watchers, don't do Artorias' gimmick if you're just going to go... Like, again, it's a supercharged Artorias, where you have Artorias, but there's more of them, and one of them helps you. And then he does giant fire attacks, and it's just like, more, sometimes more is less, you know? There's a lot of power in meeting a proud knight who has fallen and is kind of a shadow of his former self. There's not as much to seeing just this crazy thing, you know. High Lord Volnir, I think this is also a D. I think this is a fine concept. I don't think this execution is as good as the concept. I don't think this is an A tier concept though. So I can't put him all the way up here, and I'm not bumping him up to a C just because the concept is fun when the fight is so meh. Okay, so this is the part of the video where everyone gets mad. I don't like Gale. I hate Gale. Again, it's just another supercharged Artorias, except he's more supercharged now. I think it is a very weird thing that the Dark Souls franchise, whose greatest moments universally are like meeting Oscar again when Oscar has gotten hollow. Everybody agrees that that's like a really powerful moment because you're putting him down. It's like he was like, you like Oscar and you meet him and he's a zombie now and you put him down and it's sad. And Sif, you meet Sif and Sif is like this proud wolf, and then you fight Sif and then Sif like gets injured, and like those are the moments that people always celebrate with these games, these more sort of understated, more sort of human relatable things. Why on earth they decided to cap off that franchise with, oh, a crazy thing happens, like just this supercharged ultra mega boss. I think Slave Knight Gale, like, imagine if instead of being like a big boss with a lot of stuff that happening, I think Slave Knight Gale would have been much more powerful if Gale was maybe better incorporated into the main game, where he's just an NPC you meet from time to time, and then at the end, you travel to the end of the world, and rather than him being just the Hulk, he's just really old and tired, and rather than it being a question of who is strong enough to claim the Dark Soul, it's just a question of, well, Gale is really old and really tired, and he just sort of, it's kind of like King of Land, where maybe he doesn't even put up a fight. And rather than being like this big, powerful moment, it's more just like a gut punch of, you know, all this fighting is sort of amounted to is everybody's old, tired, and kind of dying, and you can end that now by just killing Gale, who's your friend. I think that would have had a much stronger emotional impact than fighting like Red Riding Hood, the Hulk, over here. Even though like this is not the worst fight, there are many fights in the E's and D's which are not as well executed, but I dislike this handling of Gale, like this handling of the Dark Souls 3 franchise, like Dark Souls as a franchise, I should say. I think this is a really bad way to end it. Which brings us into Sekiro, but first a bit to drink because my voice is giving out. I'm sad Aldrich isn't Slime Boss. Yeah, so Aldrich, to the those who pay attention, you can see that Aldrich has Gwendolyn's crown on his head because he's like Eden Gwendolyn, except he doesn't. That's not the same crown that Gwendolyn has in Dark Souls 1. I think Gwendolyn's crown here has like 7 rays, like sun rays that come out, whereas the Gwendolyn crown in Dark Souls 3 only has like 5. And it seems to be like cut off. And I've seen some people theorize that maybe the Gwendolyn model they used for the Aldrich fight wasn't actually Gwendolyn originally. It was like a Gwendolyn fanatic which existed in the universe. Because I think the face, like I think the model they used for Gwendolyn, I think it just is Lothric. It's the same voice actor, I know that, but I think the model they used is the same too. So I think that's really interesting. I think the Dark Souls games, aside from the first one, Dark Souls 2 and 3, I think they're really interesting as like, what the hell was the original story? More so than what we got, even though I do like both games. It's pretty clear that the large majority of people just really love duel fights. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think um, I don't. I hate when people try to correct people's enjoyments. So like, if you like Pontiff Sulivan, you're wrong for liking him because I don't like him. Rather than just I don't like him, but you do like him, and you and I just have differences of opinions about that, and your opinion brings you happiness about fighting him. My opinion doesn't bring me happiness about fighting him, and that's fine. We don't all have to agree on this stuff. I also just think people generally, especially on social media, they just get really, really defensive about, like, they put so much of their identity into these sorts of opinions. Like, we're talking about video game bosses here. This stuff doesn't matter. Like, nobody, this is completely irrelevant outside of just the novelty of talking about it. But yeah, a lot of people like the dual bosses, and I think that's fine. I like the sound of the dancers walking. I would have to refight the dancer. I don't remember what that sounds like. Yeah, it was like 8 and then it dropped to 4. Ooh, I don't know. I'm sorry. I should have caught that comment earlier. I don't know what that's in reference to. Um, when Gwyn's theme started to play in Soul of Cinderfied, I just rolled my eyes. Was quite tired to all the callbacks at that point. Yeah, that's kind of my feeling on it too. Where it's like, I think I love Dark Souls 3 as like, it's like a best of mixtape where you have the best parts of Demon Souls, best parts of Dark Souls, the best parts of Dark Souls 2, and you just put them all together into this thing. I don't quite love it as like its own self-contained thing, but as like a swan song for those games, I think it's really interesting. And like I can enjoy it on that front. But I do think it's a bit much. Finally a tree enjoyer. The curse rotted Greatwood. Okay, so I love it's you know what the curse rotted Greatwood is? This is a better executed Bed of Chaos, where it's like a gigantic thing, just this huge, enormous monster, which fights you in an arena that's like breaking down, and it has very specific points on it where you need to attack, but it's better executed. I don't think it's a great execution. I think like if I were just remove the concept rating, this would probably be like a C or a B. But I think it's much, much stronger than Bed of Chaos execution-wise. I like the Curse-Rotted Great Tree because it reminded me of Final Fantasy V. Okay. I've never played Final Fantasy V because I'm not a nerd. Got him. I like Gale's boss arena. I also love that boss arena. I will give Gale that. That's a wonderful boss arena. Interesting how your opinion on Gale is completely opposite to everybody else's. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not winning popularity contests. But like I said, I don't think he is a bad execution boss. If I was just ranking him on like how much fun I can squeeze out of fighting him, he's like a C, maybe even a B. But I have like I'm so invested in these games, and then it's just like the conclusion to this franchise is the kind of boss that I don't like, and it's like the most full realization of that. But it's okay if everybody else likes him, that's fine. About Aldrich, Sophie theorized that he looks like a gigantic grup man. Oh, that's a good point. That's interesting. Yeah. you gonna put this tier list on Twitter, I wonder? Uh, I feel like Twitter would rip me to pieces for doing for putting this list up there, um, because like a lot of the like F tier fights just so coincidentally happen to be the fights which are really difficult. So they'll be like, "Oh, this guy's just bad at these games," and I am. But yeah, I probably will. That's fine. Um, for context, Final Fantasy V's main antagonist is a sentient evil tree. Okay, okay. Um, yeah, okay. Um, Sekiro time then, and like with Bloodborne, it's a different kind of evaluation. Like we're not talking. We can't really compare Emma to uh, Leechmonger. It's not a fair comparison because these are completely different combat systems. So, oh, come on, why do you have? Oh no, why do you have three Genichiros? What do you? Oh, uh, why? Okay, okay. Let's start with the optional fights first. I feel like that's a great way of sort of filtering down this list because it is quite a bloated list of Sekiro, and we also have all of Elden Ring to go through, and it's already like 2 hours in. So let's do this. Chained Ogre, that's a D. There's not like what are we doing? This is not an interesting fight. Shichiman Warrior, ah, it's a C, but you have to do it 3 times, so it's a D. Long Arm Centipede, it's a Z. Yeah, you have to do it twice, but it's like it's fine, whatever. It's my list, whatever. Ashina Elite, eh, it's fine. It's a fine challenge. It's a D. What am I saying? It's not. There's nothing much to this. Um, Togujiro the Glutton. Oh, I see. Oh, I see what they're doing here. I see what they're doing here. I see what they're doing here. They're separating all of the drunkards. Okay, we'll just fix that real quick. Where is he? Wait, where is the... Do they not have there's another drunkard. Oh, here it is. Shigegichi. Yeah, let's just... Bloop, a bloop, a bloop. Fixed. Fixed. 7 Ashina Spears. I think that's like a D. Nah, I should say C. I think that's... No! That's a D. That's an E, in fact. Because at the end of the game, you fight him again on your path to Ishin. At least I think that's him. And it's a terrible fight. It's such a bad arena and there's so much fire. I'm pretty sure it's him. Anyways, Armored Warrior. Oh, we're talking A tier. This is exactly the sort of fun thing about the Sekiro combat because he's just about posture and then you kick him off. This is wonderful. There's so much interesting stuff going on. I love that. Snake Eyes. Oh, we talking E tier. I hate these girls so much. I always have to cheese them. Miss Noble. Oh, we're talking A tier. Oh yeah, oh no, it's an easy fight. I know it's an easy fight. But it's a cool fight because like you've been playing through this game and it's like yeah, it's crazy magic fantasy, but it's still kind of grounded. And then you see this thing. And it's like going to Bergenworth and you like see Rom and you're like, "Oh, what the hell is this game? What have I walked into here?" So I love Miss Noble. Orin of the Water. I think she's a C. I think she's fine. The Sakura Bull. Sakura Bull gets a D, and the Blazing Bull also a D. Don't do all these repeat bosses. Or do. Like, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Repeat bosses are not as offensive to me the first time around as they are on subsequent playthroughs. I usually don't go after Sakura Bull or like all the Shichiman Warriors or the drunkards. I did for the commentary because I had to, but I probably wouldn't have otherwise. Um, I will say though, Sakura Bull, you can just throw out the firecrackers unseen, and then it just goes crazy and it crashes into the wall, so you can just insta kill it. So they had the good conscience to make this boss insta killable, and I like that. Um, but I'm not gonna give it a higher grade for that. I think that just prevents it from being in the E. Okami leader Shizu, like, it's a D. It's not like a bad fight. It's just really easy. There's not a lot to it. I actually no. You know what? I have to put her into C, I should say, because she's throwing those lightnings at you in the water, and I love that. That's how they gate content in Fountainhead Palace the first time you go there. So that's a fun gimmick. Okay. Leader's Jigenori Yamauchi. He is. Is he the first boss of the game? I think so. I think he's the guy we can fight before we fight Genichiro, who just gives us healing pellets. D. What are we doing? This is just like a fight. Great Carp Attendant. Okay. He has the exact same moveset as the Chained Ogres do. Oof. I want to give him. I'm gonna put him higher than the ogres, but I'm gonna put him into D anyway. That's fine. Samurai General. I think this is the guy outside of the Ashina Castle. I think I have to put him into D. He's like a kind of bad fight, because I have to put him into E actually, because you kind of have to corner him in that arena, that little that walkway, so that you can't be sniped by all the soldiers down on the stairs. But then you can very easily aggro those kunai throwing monstrosities on the roof. So I don't like fighting him. All right, Great Serpent. Oh, it's S tier. It's S tier, because this is also a great example of like what Dragon God could have been, where it's a stealth challenge, but it's a very directed stealth challenge. If you replay the game, it's not nearly as impactful the second time around, because like it is so scripted and it's so easy to do. But I think it's a really memorable encounter, and it's a very different kind of encounter. So it's an S tier fight for me. Great Colored Carp. I don't think this is a boss. I think this is just like a stealth challenge, because at least with a Great Serpent, you can kill those. You can kill. I mean, you can kill the Colored Carp too. I don't know. I suppose B. It's also a fun stealth challenge. Like, it's probably a better stealth challenge than a Great Serpent, but like, I think the Serpent being earlier in the game sort of robs the Carp of that sort of majesty of being like this big, majestic stealth challenge. But also, I'm a bit more reticent about talking about the Carp as a boss than I am the Serpent. The Lone Shadow. Oh, hey! F tiers. Specifically because of the one in the well. That is unforgivable. And he drags all of them down. Headless. Oof. They're like C, but there's 5 of them. So, like, we have to go. We're like, nah, let's put them into D. I can't be that mean, because they do have interesting gimmicks. Alright, Shinobi Hunter, Engine of Mizan. That's a D. That's definitely a D. Like, I think it's a fine sort of Mikiri challenge. I also like that you can sort of pick off all the other enemies in that boss arena. It's also one of those bosses, I talked about this with Taurus Demon, where it's not obvious that this is the boss, or that you're going to be fighting a boss when you first encounter it, because it's a mini-boss. But I do like that. But otherwise, like, I think the encounter setup is pretty fun, but the boss itself, it's nothing to write home about. All right, 1 minute break, everybody. I'm gonna go get some more coffee and possibly pee while I'm at it, so that, because I'm so jittery because I've been drinking so much while doing this, I feel like it's affecting my audio volume because the creaking in my chair, because I need to pee so bad, is ruining it for everyone. Be back in a minute. All right, coffee's brewing. Let's just go over some comments while we're at it. Um, taste people's do it. Taste people's salty tears. I'll I'll tweet out the boss list. That's fine. I feel like I have enough bad faith from the internet already. People hate me enough already that this isn't gonna hurt me. Chain Ogre is the OG Horaloo. Yeah. Oh, that's true. Uh, Shigenori is good for what he is. Shigenori, he's the first boss, right? Yeah, Shigenori. Yeah, I think he's got very little posture, so it's very easy to kill him. Um, yeah, I think he's fine, but like, he's not anything above average in that game. All right, coffee's ready. 1 second. Ah. All right. Now we're getting into the real fights. Inner Genichiro. No, let's not start there. I'm not gonna start on Genichiro regular either. I think Genichiro, the first time around, should be the one we fight in Ashina. I think that's fine. Lady Butterfly, I think she's a B. I think this is a really strong fight. I think it's really unfortunate that there's that dodge to the left exploit, but I still think this is a really good fight. There's a lot of verticality in it, and there's a good sort of back and forth rhythm you can get into with her. So, big fan. Let's see. Corrupted Monk. Where's the other Corrupted Monk? Here she is. I think Corrupted Monk, both forms, are a C. Probably. Ooh. true corrupted monk should be a B because there's way more going on in that fight. Good back and forth. She punishes, but she's also she communicates her attack really obviously. So you never feel like an idiot when you always feel like an idiot. You never feel like it was an exploit that she was able to kill you. Genichiro. This is inner Genichiro. Like, because the inner fights, they're also great, but I feel like they're just kind of, because like, I don't want to rank Genichiro 3 times in A, but I have to because it's all Genichiro and it's all great. Like he's A tier. He is the best sort of example of this rhythmic combat. He's like a good standard bearer. There's Genichiro, and then you have to compare like everything to him. He's a perfect A tier. He does nothing wrong. He does a lot of things exceptionally well. He's not perfect. He's not the best in my opinion, but I can't fault him on anything. And I think it kind of sucks that I have to rank him A tier 3 times. I'm also just noticing now that he's only in A tier twice. No, here's the other one. I was going to say I feel like I accidentally dropped him elsewhere. Okay, that's fine. Genichiro, A tier 3 times over. That does bloat the A tier section a bit, but whatever. It is what it is. Gyobu, Mazutaka Oniwa. I feel like he's a C. I feel like he's a really strong fight. He's not a great fight. He's a really strong fight, though. Folding Screen Monkeys, I think that's also a B, because, again, I like gimmick fights. I like fights which are a bit unconventional. I think this is a really it's a really good meditative fight, because it's not hard. And look, admittedly, it can take a little bit if you don't get the gimmick that you're supposed to sort of lure them into these specific rooms. But I really like this fight. I think Sekiro would have really, really suffered if there hadn't been one boss that was just a grappling challenge like this. So I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, B tier. B tier is good. It's not an A tier concept. And it's not an A tier execution either. I think it's a solid B. I also... Let's see... Oh, okay. Here's one. Chat, you wanna learn something crazy about me right now? This is a little secret about me. I've never fought Emma the Gentle Blade or Old Man Ishin. I've seen those fights. I think I could do it easily. I think those would be easy fights to beat. But I've never fought them myself. I also think that Emma the Gentle Blade and Ishin, Old Man Ishin, I think their AIs have been made to fight before, and I think Emma beat him like 9 times out of 10. So she's technically tougher than him, which is really cool. But I don't know if that necessarily translates into how the player fights them. Alright, so again, this is a very problematic thing we have here, because we have Owl 3 times, and then we have Ishin twice. Well, we had him 3 times. Well, okay, that's a bit different. Guardian Ape and Headless Ape. Again, I don't like this. This is the same enemy. Even if you're doing like, oh, this is the double fight, this one isn't. So, like, I think Guardian Ape A tier, but it annoys me that it's set up this way, because this is the same fight. This is the same enemy. Like, I think this is supposed to be the one in the cave, but I don't like that they set it up this way. Alright, so Father Owl, Owl is also A tier. He's like here's the thing about Sekiro. These bosses are all really, really good because the combat system is really good. It's very, like, it's so tight that it's much easier to design a really challenging, good boss with a lot of good back and forth around it. Alright, so, Sakura Dragon, S tier. amazing. This is exactly what I want from fights. It's easy, but it's super memorable and super engaging. S tier, definitely S tier. Demon of Hatred. Ooh, let's see. I think the concept behind Demon of Hatred is much stronger than the actual fight, but I do really like the actual fight. I think it's an S tier concept, A tier execution. I'm gonna bump Great Serpent down to A, and that way I feel comfortable. I feel like my conscience is lifted putting Demon of Hatred into S, even though I'm being a bit generous. Okay. Ishin, best boss in the game. You kidding me? S tier, easy. Also inner Ishin. I hate that these inner bosses are bloating my list. I hate that Genichiro has 3 fights. I hate that all of them have 3 fights, but it's fine. Whatever. Ishin, S tier, great. I beat him with all the handicaps on, but I did heal, and I did use the bundled Jizo statue, so maybe that doesn't count to the professionals, but it is what it is. Okay, Elden Ring. This is where we're gonna start filling out this haven't fought bracket, because I haven't gone into every cave, I haven't fought every enemy, but like at the same time, you have like if there's probably some cave in Elden Ring that has like the eagle mob enemy be the big boss of that cave. I'm gonna rank that like so like that's fine. Like Mad Pumpkinhead, I have gone into that area where he's a boss, but if I hadn't, I'd still fought that enemy, so I feel like I'm allowed to rank that. And okay, so we'll do the optional ones first. Erd Tree, E tier. This is just the Asylum Demon again, but you're doing it 5 times. No, this is not okay. Yeah, I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's anything going on in this fight. But I suppose I should put it into D because, like, now you know what? It's E. It's a D tier fight, but you do it 5 times, and it loses rankings like that. We have to be a bit punishing here. Guardian Golem, E. Like, pretty much any time a mob enemy is presented to me as a boss, I'm gonna put it into like E. Grave Warden Duelist. No. Terrible. Erdtree Burial Watchdog. No. Terrible. Crystallian. Like they have a fun gimmick where like they have a lot of like super armor, but when you break it, it breaks. But no, I don't think that's interesting enough. Clean Rot Knight. I don't remember this one. I think this is just the generic sort of Melania enemy. But I'm gonna put it into haven't fought. I don't remember. Like, this might be its own boss that I haven't actually fought. I'm not comfortable rating it as if it is just those generic fights. I wish Lady Butterfly's illusion shenanigans were more interesting. Me when Genichiro stripped his armor. Oh no, he's hot. For me, Gyobu is A because of the English voice acting is so memorable. I've never played Sekiro in English, so I wouldn't know. Monkeys had a cool arena. Monkey had a very cool arena. Disagreed. Genichiro is hotter clothed. Chat. What has happened here? I went away for coffee and I lost control of the conversation here. No, he is hotter when he takes his shirt off. That is true. I can bring up Mimi in the chat and we can have her decide. She is the Genichiro expert. Cemetery Shade, nah, nothing to this. Bloodhound Knight, meh. Alabaster Lord, meh. Rune Bear, meh. Soldier of Godric. Is that the first boss of the game? That's like probably, let's give that a D. We can't be too cruel. Onyx Lord, I don't know what that is. Knight Cavalry. Okay, that's an E because there's 10 of them. Asgard, Priest of Blood. I think I fought this guy, and I don't think he was terrible. I think he's like just a fight in the game. Royal Revenant. What the hell? Oh, is this that? I think this is. Hold on, let me put that a bit backwards. I think this is the first boss of the game, the one that kills you. I'm not quite sure. I'm just gonna keep it there, and we'll circle back to him. Sanguine Noble. What the hell are you? I probably fought this, but I think it is telling that I don't remember. So haven't fought / don't remember. That's a good way to change that around. Can't be that great if I don't even know who you are. Tibia Mariner. Okay. I know you fired it 4 times. This is B tier. This is exactly the sort of stupid, silly fight that I like, and I love that he like lifts up his boat and then he just kind of cracks it into you. I love that. Like it's not a fun fight, but it's a very sort of weird, dumb, funny fight. Crucible Knight. I think. Is this the guy in the Sol Castle? Let's just put him back on the line so that we have him there. Clean Rot Armor Duo. Okay, so I'm pretty confident Clean Rot Knights are just those general mob enemies. In which case, E. Don't give me mob enemies to fight as bosses. The Deathbird. The hell with this thing. This thing just appeared, destroys me, and then when I was about to kill it, I think it just bailed on me. So, no. That thing can die in a ditch. Kindred of Rot Duo. No, these weird prawn centipede guys. Get out of there. Tree Sentinel. No. Miranda, the Blighted Bloom. What the hell? I don't remember what that is. Necromancer Garrus. Don't remember. Nox Duo. I don't really remember that either. Misbegotten Crusader. This thing I know, and I feel like I fought it 20 times. So get it away from there. Omen Killer. I think this guy was fine. Red Wolf of the Champions. I think this is the same guy you fight in, the same model as you fight in the Renalis Academy. Red Wolf of the Champions, but like in a boss form. It's just like a Sif retread, but now it has magic and does stuff. It's whatever it is. Spirit Caller Snail. It's an E tier, but I'll give it a D because it's a snail. We stand snails, everyone. Everybody go on itch.io and play Snail. It's a wonderful game. One of the best games of all time. I think it has a perfect score there still. Demi-Human Queen. I don't remember this. Erdtree Burial Watchdog Duo. Okay, that's F tier. Like, one of these sucks. 2 of these, no better. Crystallian Duo. Like, no. What? Beast of Farum Azula. What the hell are you? I must have fought this thing, but I don't remember it. Adon Thief of Fire. Oh yeah, I remember this guy. He's like, he's just another fight. Alecto the Black Knight. Yeah, whatever. Fight. Putrid Avatar. I don't remember this. Black Knife Assassin. Pretty sure this is just like another one of those fights. Bulls the Carrion Knight. Don't remember this. Crucible Knight Duo. Okay, I do remember these guys. Because I think one of them drops the Ostrovo Greatsword, I think it's called, which has a really cool looking weapon arts, but actually the weapon arts suck. It sucks. And I went through the game so long with that thing. Fight, terrible. Put it into F tier. Falling Star Beasts. Big thing flails around. I'm not a fan. The Fell Twins, don't remember that. Um, Godskin Apostle. Ugh. Okay. Okay. I think Godskin Apostle is a D. I don't think this is that offensive. It is kind of sucky that they keep reusing it, but it's fine. Um, Grafted Scion. No, this is the first thing you fight. Okay. This is a really, like, E. What are you kidding me? It's just, like, this is the epitome of a big thing that flails around. I have no energy for this. Mad Pumpkinhead, it's an enemy they repeat. Omen Killer and Miranda. Don't remember that. Perfumer Tricia and Misbegotten. Don't remember. Abductor Virgins. Oh, these things. E. Easy. Battle Mage. These things, I don't think there's anything to them. Bellbearing, like, wow. There's a lot of balls things here, huh? Oh, this is the guy that invades the round. No, this is the guy. This is not the invader. This is the guy on the bottom. I'll give him a D. Whatever. Like, they can't all be E tier. Like, it's kind of sad that half the E tier is just Elden Ring things. Wormface. Don't remember this. Ulcerated Tree Spirit. And there are way more than 2 of these. There's like 5 or 6 of these. E tier. Estelle, Stars of the Darkness. E tier. Like, its visual design is kind of fun, but it's just way too much. This is not what this combat system was made for. Crucible Knight Siluria. I think this is a D tier. I think this is an okay one. Demi-Human Chief Duo. Don't remember this. Putrid Crystallian Trio. E. Falling Star. No. Stray Mimic tier. This I have energy for. Not just be like, I know you get a good summon from it, but I also like a mirror fight. I think that's fun. So I'll put that into B. And hopefully, no, wait. That's this thing. I'll put both into B. That's fine. If it is in fact the same, if it is also you, which I think it is. I think this is the one you fight in that really tucked away part of the underground dealy. Alright then. Spirit Color Snail Godskin. I mean, we have energy for snails, so we have to do it. Magma Worm. Ooh, this is a big dragon with a sword. Hey, it's a D tier, it's fine. Godfroy the Grafted. Okay. I originally thought Godfroy was just a joke that Twitter had made up. And then I was told, like, then I saw that it was actually a real thing. But I haven't actually fought this thing myself. I'm pretty sure it is just a reskin, but whatever. Putrid Grave Warden Duelist. I think this is an E tier. Tree Sentinel Duo. Yeah. Dragonite Tree Sentinel. No. Deathrite Bird. No. D. Whatever. Troll. No. No. Stop. Oh. Okay. I have a lot of energy for Patches because he's such a coward. I also love that when you summon him for Radon, I think he just bails on you like pretty quickly. He doesn't actually fight. That's the stuff I like seeing. Alright then. Ancient Hero of Zamor. Commander O'Neill. Wait, no. That's Blackblade Kindred. Royal Revenant. I don't remember this thing. Crucible Knight. Okay. I'm pretty sure this is the guy in Sol Castle. But that might also be this Elemer of the Briar. So I have to put him into Don't Remember. If this is the Sol Castle guy, I don't quite like him. I think he's like a D or a C. If not, then he's not. Okay. Godskin Noble. E. Because it's a big thing that flails around. Godskin Duo. I'll also put that into E because this is. It's not that these are bad fights so much as it is like Gale, where this is the stuff I hate seeing in these games, and they just do it again and again and again. All right, God Devouring Serpent Rykard. Oh, it's A tier. This is a really good fight. It's a much better version of Yorm. It's not as strong as Storm King because like that novelty of this fight setup. I think it only really excites once, but I still think it's fun. Um, Elder Dragon Greol. I don't know the dragons from each other. But like again, I'm pretty just confident in putting all of the dragons. Hold on, Borealis. They're all in the D's. They're all just yeah. They work. They function. What the Lich Dragon Fortisax. I think this is that big optional dragon with two heads. No, that's this thing. I haven't fought that. Leech Dragon. Leech Dragon. I don't remember fighting this at least. But yeah, I feel confident putting all those dragons on the overworld just in the D. Because again, this is just another. They keep putting these dragons into their games, and I keep not being impressed by them. Okay, Regal Ancestor Spirit. This is a C. This is a pretty fine fight. It's kind of like, it's just, it is what it is. Nothing that interesting. It's just fine execution all in all. Valiant Gargoyles. Oh, hell no. I hate these. But I may have been underleveled. Fias Champions. I don't remember if I fought. Sorry. I don't remember if I fought those. Dragonkin Soldier of Noxtella. Don't remember that. Estelle, Natural Born of the Void. Okay, where did I put all of his brothers? There we go. E. Godfrey, the First Elden Lord. This is that that sort of avatar effigy of him. It's fine. Morgoth, the Omen King. Okay, again. Big things do not equate to quality in these games, I don't think. So that's a D from me. Margit the Fell Omen, also a D. Mog the Omen, E. This fight, he spews blood that burns, so he creates environmental hazards. But he also has like an undodgeable bleed effect that you have to get like an optional item for. What are you doing? Commander Njal. I'm pretty sure he's the one in the Frozen Castle. And if so, I'm gonna put him in E. I don't like this guy. I think he summons Oleg and that other summon, which is also Oleg but with like a spear rather than two swords, I think. I didn't like fighting this guy. Fire Giant. Fire Giant A tier. I love this thing. I love the spectacle of it. Beast Clergyman. This, on the other hand, same problem I have with Gale. Big things are not interesting, and this, just spare some sympathy for me, the humble strength build, who has big weapons that move very slowly, and this thing is zipping all over the battlefield like it's Yoda from Attack of the Clones. It's impossible to fight this thing. I hated it. Gideon Ofnir, the All-Knowing. Okay, this on the other hand, S tier. Nah. A tier. I love an NPC who turns on you. Or who has different motivations from you. And I like him as a character a lot. So when he became a boss, I was like, no, not you too. Oh well. When you gotta kill, you gotta kill. And I destroyed him. Horaloo Godfrey. I think it's a C. It's just another fight. Hey, what can you say? Mark, Lord of Blood. Oh wait, didn't I already put you somewhere? Oh, wait. Mog Lord of Blood does those bleed attacks that you can't skip. He's E tier. Mog the Omen, living in the sewers, eating rats. He can be D tier. I don't care. Loretta, Knight of the Halictree. It's certainly a fight in the game. Great Worm Theoridix. It's certainly a fight in the game. Leonine Misbegotten. Okay. I don't like it. I don't know. It's kind of... I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself with these, but I can't get much out of these fights where you just roll a lot and then you punish. And I'm very happy that I'm kind of nearing the end of things, because I don't know how many different ways I have of saying that. Malenia, Blade of Mikola, F tier. This is terrible. It's like Slave Knight Gale. It's like the Beast. It's like Malakath. It's like all of the worst bosses, or like Fume Knight, where this, like, whatever story you are trying to communicate with this is completely undermined by the impossible difficulty you've set for yourself. And something much more subdued, I feel, would have been a lot more impactful. I get that you want the strongest boss, like, you want the strongest boss in the game to be optional, so that the player has something to challenge themselves against, but this isn't it. This is really not hitting for me. I love the visual spectacle, especially of the second half, and I like her character, but the fight, this is terrible. Alright, Radagon and the Elden Beast. Just the hell with the Elden Beast and its homing attack that chases you for an hour. But, I mean, it's not like, it's there, it's fine, whatever. It's actually E tier. I don't like this. Godric the Grafted, like, D. I feel so bad putting all the Elden Ring, like, they're so overrepresented in the lower tiers. Partly because there are so many bosses that are just reskins of other enemies, but also because I feel like the lesson of Dark Souls 3 should have been, these sorts of fights, they aren't going to cut it anymore. Like, you've taken this combat system as far as you can take it, but then Elden Ring came and they just took it even further. The Red Wolf of Radagon. Where did I put all the other Red Wolves? E. Let's say it's E. Where are all the other ones? No, it's here in D. I can't put... I'm not putting more of them into D. You can't have reskins in the same tier. Renala of the Full Moon. I think that's a C. I think that's a fun sort of concept of an enemy that just summons a bunch of other enemies. I like the setting. I don't think this is like a great fight or anything, but I think she's much more palatable than a lot of the other fights in this game, because she's very different. Ancestor Spirit. Okay, so there's the Ancestor Spirit, and then there's the Regal Ancestor Spirit. Where did I put the other one? Where did I put it? Whatever. E. You're going into E tier, because the other one is probably the same thing, and I already gave that a higher ranking. Yeah, here it is, in the C. You go into D. If you're doing retreads, you can't be there. Dragonkin Soldier. I don't remember fighting this. But I must have. It's a mandatory boss. And I did all of those. But I don't remember. Royal Knight Loretta. I put her in D, didn't I? I did like her better when she wasn't a summon, like in the actual fight arena. So this one, E. Glintstone Dragon. What does this mean? 2.5. You fight 2.5 of these? Oh, that's right, because one of them is outside of Ronnie's room, and you only fight them until their health bar is halved, and then they fly away. It's a big thing that flails around. What can I say? D. I feel like I made a mistake putting Seath and Calamite in D, because that's sort of been the model for all the other dragons. Like Red Dragon and Blue Dragon, I put those first. Because all the other dragons, I feel like they should have really been in the E, because I really don't like these bosses. The more I see, like, just how many of them we got. Magma Makar, just another repeat of that boss. Ancient Dragon Lanaziax. That's a D. I do wonder if because we know that Midir used to have like a crystal sword. I do wonder if the electricity these guys have, like, if that's where that came from. But I don't know. Uh, this one I feel had at least a bit more sort of spectacle going on than most of the dragons in this game. So I'll put it into D. I'll put it higher up into D than the other dragons there, but it's still a D. Elamar of the Briar. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is the one with the telekinetic sword. If so, it's a D. It's fine. Commander O'Neill. This is the one in the the Kalit Swamp. It's a D. I don't really like him that much. I also don't like that we have Commander Neil and Commander O'Neill. I think this is like a weird joke they did where you have like Margot and Margit and Mog, and like everybody like has either G, M, or R names because of George R. R. Martin, and they all sound very similar. You don't need a Commander O'Neill and a Commander Neo. Give them different names. This is ridiculous. You know what? I'm gonna bump him down to E. No, I'm not gonna do that. But I should have. I should bump him down. And of course, the Soul S tier of Elden Ring. The new Burnt Ivory King ? He does a lot of stuff right. I feel. Number one, the interesting gimmick of you can summon an army to fight him with you. I like the idea of like the festival, the Radahn festival. I think that's such a cool thing, especially because it built up like in other encounters with other NPCs throughout the world. I think him bailing halfway through the fight and becoming a meteor, that's like fun. That is really punishing, and it can be super cheap to die to that thing, but it's also fun. I think this like the lead up to the fight where he's shooting arrows at the player, I really like that. Because it's like it sets the pace of the fight really early. Whereas a lot of fights you're just in a room with somebody and then they draw their swords. I think there's a bit more craft to Radahn. I think Radahn, he seems to me to be like the boss they had the most fun designing. Because I think he's the only boss that has such a huge map area delegated solely to fighting him. So that must have also freed up a lot of the design when they were making him, because you don't have to account for the player running around and accidentally aggroing other enemies and how that might play out. So because they were able to sort of isolate him, I think it really helped him shine. Also, because they did that, no other enemy steals focus from Radahn, which is, I think, really helps that fight. I don't know what to say. This is just spectacle in the best way these games can provide spectacle. Yeah, so that's my boss list. Should I follow Stahl, whoever? Probably not. That's my tier list. I think Niall is at Saul. Oh, he's at... Oh. Well, whatever. I dislike both of them. O'Neill, Ionia, Niall, Saul. Dang it. Well, I'm not fixing it. Hey, give more points to Horolu for the WWE attacks. I can't, because like I wish I could, but he's already in C. He's not. I can't give him a B. I don't think he is a B. I think he like even the WWE stuff. That's fun, but I think that the fight is sort of crappy. But I really like the setup because he's like. I love also when you beat him. I love that he doesn't talk down to you. He's just like, "Oh wow, you're really strong. Maybe you are the real lord," or whatever he says. I like that. One shot you. Heh, nothing personnel tarnished. I don't remember Dragonkin Soldier either. Dragonkin Soldier is at Knockrom. Dragonkin Soldier is at no chrome. That is right. And he is a D tier. It's a semi-hidden area which you reach from a portal at sea over a river, or by jumping down from the bridge after the Mimic tier boss. Shaq Mander O'Neill. I don't know why. I don't know that joke. No. Yeah, sorry. Let's see. Njal is in the Swamp of Ionia. Lich Dragon is at the end of Fia's quest. Okay. Together. The Raining Skull that follows you around really drags down the fight for me, otherwise it's really fun. It's for Rykard probably. Yeah, so here's the thing. The second fight of Rykard's battle, that's really spammy, but I feel like the spear, it like immobilizes him enough, and you have enough mobility in the fight that it's still manageable. At least I managed it. I think I only died like once or twice to him. Whereas like a similar fight, like this could have been an impossibly just bang your head against the desk because there's so much going on. I feel like they really managed to present spectacle without actually making it overbearing or impossible to defeat. Shaquille O'Neal, a basketball player. I know who Shaq. Oh, yeah. I thought there was like, I thought because like maybe the boss arena is like the Shaq. It's like Shaq. Is that like a basketball arena? No, you just meant because his name is also O'Neal. I'm stupid. Miranda, you can also upgrade the Serpent Hunter. So there's that too. Yeah, but the weapon art, I don't think the weapon art works outside of that boss arena, does it? I wish that thing you could take it into the world. They did it in Dark Souls 3. You can use the Storm Ruler just willy-nilly there if you want. So that's fun, but they didn't do it here, so what do you know? Anyways, this has been an hour longer than I planned for it to be. There's a lot more Elden Ring bosses than I thought there would be, but a lot of them are just bloat, so it's easy to filter them through. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm hopefully going to be streaming Armored Core again soon because I gotta get making those videos. I'm not feeling it right now. I feel like taking the day off and then maybe kick-starting it all tomorrow. But who knows? You know. Sometimes you have the energy for this, sometimes you don't. But yeah, that's end of the stream. Please join the Discord community if you haven't. There you can yell at me for all the crazy choices I made. It should be in the description. If not, it's somewhere. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.